So this is what basically we'll be talking about, the overall asset accounting process. Okay. Uh, how the flow is taking place under the subledger. Then we'll be talking about the asset class, then the chart of depreciation, then the master data, and the different situations under asset accounting. And finally, how is the depreciation getting affected in every area. Okay. Okay. So SAP Asset Accounting covers the complete life cycle of an asset, which starts when the purchase order is created for asset purchase or the asset is capitalized to its retirement at the end of its useful life. So basically the whole life of the asset we are trying to understand here in case of asset accounting. During this time, the system calculates the appropriate depreciation values and presents this information in many different reports. So when we talk about the life cycle of asset, it looks something like this. Let me just take a highlighter, just 1 second. Okay. Now whenever we go for the acquisition of asset, that means we are buying the asset, we'll be creating an asset master. So asset master is nothing but the list of all the individual assets. Let's say if my company is buying 10 different assets, every asset will be created under the asset master. Now when we buy the asset, we'll be buying it from a vendor. So asset accounting gets integrated with accounts payable side. Okay, the vendor master we should have, and if you are making a payment to him, you should go ahead with the outgoing payment also. The process remains the same. Only thing is you are just getting integrated with the accounts payable. Okay. From which vendor are you buying it? All those details you'll be entering it. Okay. Then let us say after using this asset for some time, an additional asset has been linked to this existing asset. Then you're transferring the asset from one department to other department. And finally, you felt that the useful life of the asset is over. So you would like to go ahead with selling of the asset or scrapping the asset. Now, whenever we are going for asset sale, again, your asset accounting is getting integrated with accounts receivable side. Okay. So the whole of asset accounting, it's not possible to go ahead and understand the process unless and until we do the receivables and the payable side. Some basic settings for receivables and payables are compulsorily required because we'll be going for asset purchase as well as asset sale. Okay. Okay. Now, in all these situations, right from the stage of asset purchase till the stage of asset scrapping, how is the depreciation getting affected? That will be our area of focus apart from all these situations. And every activity can be reflected in the asset report. Or we can link the individual asset to a cost center, we can link it to a business area, or we can link it to a plant or a factory also. Now this is where separate module plant maintenance will come into picture again. So plant maintenance can be integrated with asset accounting also. So overall, we're just trying to understand the whole life of the asset right from the first stage till the last stage. Okay. The asset accounting component is used for managing and supervising fixed assets with the SAP. In SAP Financial Accounting, it serves as a subsidiary ledger to the FI General Ledger, providing detailed information on transactions involving fixed assets. So the overall life of the asset can be understood using this sub-module, that is your asset accounting. Asset accounting is a subsidiary ledger of financial accounting. The appropriate general ledger accounts are updated each time you post the transaction related to assets. Asset master
sorry, there is integration with plant maintenance as well for functional locations and equipment.
Taken care by plant maintenance people actually. So, so we'll be more focusing on integrating with payables and the receivables and the whole of accounting process and the depreciation part, all these things. Okay. Okay. The appropriate general ledger accounts are updated each time you post the transaction related to assets. Asset master is created at the subledger level and it will be linked to the asset class. So the first requirement is we have to go ahead with the asset master and then that gets linked to the asset class. Asset master updates the transactions at the individual assets level. That is, the transactions are recorded at the asset master level. Asset classes are the most important means needed for structuring the fixed assets. Now this slide is very important. We'll come back to this. First, we'll try to understand how does the general flow in asset accounting takes place. Okay. So with this, we might have already seen it, but still let's try to understand this once again. So whenever we are talking about asset accounting, the first thing is we need to create an asset master. So asset master is nothing but list of all the individual assets. Let's say my company is having some 5 buildings, something like building 1, building 2, 3, 4 and 5. Similarly, 4 vehicles or machinery. So all these individual assets we'll be creating at the asset master level. Okay. Now these individual assets will be linked to one common asset class. That means all the buildings will be linked to asset class buildings. All the vehicles will be linked to asset class vehicles. Similarly, the machinery and the respective assets. Now this asset class gets linked to the GL account. So there is no direct linking of the asset master to the GL accounts as we have seen in case of payables and receivables. There has to be an asset class, and from the asset class it gets linked to the GL accounts. Okay. And from here it further gets transferred to the balance sheet. The flow of transactions will always be from the master level. You post it in the asset master, it goes to the class, to the GL accounts, and finally it gets transferred to the balance sheet. Okay. But before we link this GL account, this asset class to the GL account, there are some things which we have to do. So that I'll take it in the previous slide. Now, whenever we are talking about asset accounting, the first thing is we have to go ahead with creation of account determination. Now, as the name itself is indicating, when you say account determination, that is something which will enable us to determine the account. That means using this account determination, that asset class will be linked to the respective GL account. Because of this linking, there will be automatic posting of transactions. Now, let us suppose we have sold an asset. Now, whenever we are selling it, we need to calculate whether we got a profit or whether we got a loss. Now, in asset accounting, what happens is we'll be creating 2 GL accounts. One is loss on asset sale, other one is profit on asset sale. Using the account determination, we'll be linking it to the GL accounts. So because of that linking, system posts this transaction automatically. So there is no manual transfer here. Just record it, it gets posted automatically, and then entry gets generated automatically. Okay.
And it takes care of the depreciation automatically as well. After the say, I mean, for example, to determine whether it's a profit or a loss on an asset.
See, basically what happens is, if you want to calculate the depreciation separately, you have to run the depreciation process every month. Entry gets recorded automatically, and the depreciation calculation will be done automatically. But we have to run the process. Okay.
Right.
Right. Second is, we'll be creating a screen layout also. Now, the purpose of screen layout, it specifies the field status of the asset master. That means when we are creating these individual assets, like plant and machinery 1, 2, and 3. Now, every asset will have some screens and there will be some fields in that. Now, all the fields are not required for us. We are going to specify which are the fields which are required, optional and suppressed, using the screen layout. Okay. And third is the number ranges. Every individual assets which we are going to create here will be assigned one number. Those numbers we are creating it here. Assigns the numbers to the asset master. So as we have seen in case of vendors as well as in case of customers, every customer was assigned one number. In the same way, every asset will be assigned one number here. Okay. Now the process of creation will always be in the reverse order. First we'll be creating all these 3. Then these 3 will be linked to the asset class. Then under the asset class, we'll be creating the asset master. The create
Here you didn't mention something about the sub number. There is something called a sub asset asset
exactly.
class or something like.
Asset sub number is always linked to the main asset. Okay, let us say plant and machinery one is that something like I'll give you a very simple example of computer and a printer. Now
Mm.
computer becomes the main asset and printer becomes your sub asset, because the sub asset will not have any kind of work unless and until it is linked to the main asset. Okay.
Is that the, yeah, because um, we were having things like, for example, you know, how can I give you an example of this? Okay, take the server. Server is there, okay, in
Ex
the
ex
cabinet.
exactly right. Server and the client systems.
Yeah.
Right. So
So something like that. So,
right.
okay.
So server becomes
But the sub number, but the asset and the sub asset,
right.
are they unique, both of them, or they are part? Like for example, if you created a sub asset under
Right.
the asset,
Right.
eh, its value is divided, or no? They are treated separately in terms of their valuation.
No, depreciation they are treated separately. Depreciation you have
Ah,
to calculate separately on the main asset and you have to calculate separately on the sub asset. But
okay.
it will be linked to the main asset. The calculation of depreciation will always be separate. Okay.
Hmm.
So in our case, what will we do is we'll be concentrating more on plant and machinery because that is the most important asset. To
Hmm.
this plant and machinery, we'll link one sub asset. Okay. So as we go to the asset master creation and all, then we'll do that. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Now, as of now, I'm not
Hmm.
discussing the depreciation key as well as the depreciation area. We'll talk about this as we go to little advanced. We'll come back to this slide at that point of time. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Now the flow of transactions will always be from the sub ledger to the general ledger. So let us say there is an activity which is going on in plant and machinery 1. We'll post it to asset master plant and machinery 1. From there, via asset class, through the account determination, it gets updated in the respective GL account. Okay.
Hmm.
The posting is always from the asset master to the asset class and finally to the GL account. The creation comes in the reverse order. Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. So let us proceed further. So what is the purpose of all these? One of the most important functions of the asset class is to establish a connection between the asset master and the corresponding GL accounts. This connection is created by the account determination key in the asset
Hmm.
class.
Yeah, we did this. Yeah.
Second is the screen layout,
Yeah. Screen
specifies
layout.
the field status of the asset master.
Hmm.
And third, the number
Hmm.
ranges. Okay.
And that is all depending upon the asset class, right?
Exactly.
I mean, asset class is the main thing that we are trying to set up right now with the account
Exactly.
determination and screen layouts and number ranges.
Exactly. Okay.
Mm,
Because all the three are linked to the asset class only. Okay.
correct. Mm,
Okay. So what are the things needed for linking the GL accounts for automatic posting? So we can say these are the prerequisites which are needed for automatic posting of transactions. First thing is you need a chart of depreciation. We didn't talk about chart of depreciation. We'll be doing it as we move a little further. We need the chart of accounts. Then you need the account determination and you need the GL accounts. These are the four things which are compulsorily needed when we go for automatic posting of transactions. Now, the most important thing in asset accounting is a chart of depreciation.
mm,
The whole of depreciation is linked with the chart of depreciation. Okay. The chart of depreciation is a catalog of depreciation areas structured according to the various business aspects. Let me take you to MS Paint document. Let me put it here. Now here what happens is the moment I say chart of depreciation, I'm talking about in very simple terms list of depreciation areas. Now here another term is coming, depreciation area. So what do I
mm,
mean by depreciation area?
mm,
Depreciation area is the type of depreciation. When I say type, I need to specify whether I'm calculating a book depreciation. depreciation is purely for the accounting purpose. We'll be recording this in the accounting books. Whether we are calculating a tax depreciation. Tax depreciation is purely for reporting purpose. Okay, at the end of the year, when you file the tax returns, the tax department authorizes you to use a different depreciation for getting your tax benefits. So in that case, we'll be going ahead with tax depreciation. But no kind of transactions will be posted when we talk about the tax depreciation. It's only purely for reporting purpose. Whatever returns you are filing to the tax department, in that this is going to appear. But in your accounting books, your book depreciation is going to appear. Okay. The third also will be there, something like costing depreciation. So in this way, number of depreciation areas will be there. Okay. List of things. All these things, they'll be visible to you in the chart of depreciation. Okay. Okay, let me just go through this. The chart of depreciation is a catalog of depreciation areas structured according to various business aspects. You can specify the characteristics and thereby the significance of individual depreciation areas in each chart of depreciation. You will generally need values for fixed assets for various business and legal purposes. For example, book depreciation, costing depreciation, and so on. In SAP, it is possible to manage values in parallel in as many depreciation areas as you want. So you can record your book depreciation, you can go ahead with your tax depreciation also, as well as you can go ahead with costing depreciation also, depending on the requirement of the client. The country specific chart of depreciation, which are supplied as standard, are for reference purpose only. Now this chart of depreciation is always country specific, and every country will have one predefined chart of depreciation. Now we cannot use that because whatever is there in that chart of depreciation, all the depreciation areas are not required for us. That's why what we'll be doing is we'll be copying the chart of depreciation, and then whatever depreciation areas which are not required for us, that we'll be deleting. Okay. So this way the different depreciation areas will be there. So in this, whatever is needed, we need the book depreciation compulsorily. That we'll be keeping it. We'll see once we go for the copy option. Okay. So what are the things which are required for recording of any transaction in asset accounting? You need a chart of accounts. You need chart of depreciation. You need the basic settings for asset accounting. All those fiscal year variant, posting period variant, all those things which we have done, the basic settings should be there. Then we need the data for asset accounting. All these things together will enable us to record a transaction in asset accounting for our particular company code. Okay. SAP supports the following direct types of depreciation. One is ordinary depreciation, that is planned reduction in the asset value due to the normal wear and tear. So because of the day-to-day usage, there might be some reduction in the value. That we call it as book depreciation or ordinary depreciation. Second is the special depreciation. Depreciation that is solely based on tax regulations. This is for tax purposes. And third is unplanned depreciation. Depreciation resulting from unusual circumstances such as damage to the asset that lead to a permanent reduction in its value. Suddenly the vehicle might have met with an accident, then there is a change in its value. So obviously when the value is changing, the depreciation will also change. So in that case, how do we deal with it? Okay. So some basic things. Let's come to the SAP screen now. I go to SPRO, SAP reference IMG. I'll just, now before we do any activity under asset accounting, the first thing which we have to do is there are some 0% tax codes which are already predefined in the system that we have to assign it to our company code. Okay, that we'll do it first. Still processing. So I go to tax on sales / purchases. I go to postings and I go to assign tax codes for non-taxable transactions. OBCL is a transaction code. Still processing.
Why are you doing this? Why are you doing the tax thing again?
See, normally what happens is whenever we are going for buying of an asset, when a particular company has started its business at the initial first 2 or 3 years, generally the government gives some tax exemptions to you. So when government is giving some tax exemptions on these assets and all, we use the 0% tax codes, and without assigning the 0% tax codes, the system will not allow you to link the chart of depreciation to the company code also. Okay. So for that purpose, first we have to link the 0% tax codes, then we go for other activities. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So let's go to position, our company code HAST, and for input tax is any kind of tax which is applicable on the purchase of raw materials. So that is predefined as V0. It's already existing in the system, and output tax is identified as A0. So the moment we save it, it comes to the screen. Let's change this. Ours was this group. So this is the basic requirement which we have to do before we go for
Correct.
any activity under the asset accounting. So let's come to financial accounting new. Then I go to asset accounting. So I come to organization structures and copy reference chart of depreciation. Double click on this. I'll click this copy organization object. Still processing. So from chart of depreciation, this is something which is already predefined at the country level. So I'll click the drop down, and in this list we have 0 GB and there must be 1 GB also. Two things are there. So we can copy from any one of these two. Okay. So let's say I go with 1 GB, and here I'll.
Why is that?
This is already existing. We can copy from anyone. You can go with 0 GB also. Okay.
That's okay. No, let's go with that. Yeah, that's fine.
So you can copy from anyone. And here, the two chart of depreciation, this is the name which we are going to give to our chart of depreciation. Okay. So I'll give this as HADP. DP is for depreciation, HA being the first two letters of our company code. Okay. Press enter. Press enter again. So it gets copied. Press enter. So it says it's been copied. Press enter. Let's come back. We have to change the description. That's why we go to double click on specified description of chart of depreciation. Position HADP. This I'll change it to chart of depreciation for okay, save it. Let's come back. Copy, delete depreciation areas. Give the chart of depreciation, press enter. Now here what we need is, one is this required, other one is consolidation. These two are required for us. Okay. So those things which are not required for me, what I'm doing is I'll select them and I will delete them. Okay. Select these three, click this delete, save it. It gives you a small message. Just press enter. This message will go. Press enter again.
So each of these areas, depreciation areas, has multiple fields within them. Like for example, book depreciation, there is something further inside.
Yeah, it's there. We'll come to that as we go to a little advanced. We'll come and we'll be seeing that also. Okay. Okay.
You didn't copy the tax one. Was that not relevant? I mean,
That's
at
only
this stage?
tax balance sheet actually. Okay. We
Okay.
can create our own depreciation area also if required. Not a problem. Okay. Okay.
Right.
Okay. So let's now this chart of depreciation we will assign it to the company code. Now the first step which we have done where we have assigned the 0% tax codes. Okay. The system will enable you to assign the chart of depreciation to the company code only when we do that first activity. Okay, if you come directly,
Oh,
it will not allow you to assign the chart of depreciation to the company code. Okay.
right. Did we assign those tax codes to the company code someplace itself?
Exactly. Yeah, that we
We
have
did?
assigned it to the company code. Yeah. Yeah. Go to HAST, press enter, and here click the drop down. Our chart of depreciation will be visible to us. HADP, it's here, and save it. Press enter. Okay. Let's get back. Next thing what we are doing is first we'll create an account determination. Okay. So what we are trying to do here is, let me take you to this PowerPoint. Coming back here. First we'll create these three things. We'll create account determination, screen layout, and number ranges. Okay. Now assuming that our company is having three types of assets. One is buildings, other one, let's say there is some work which is going on which we call as capital work in progress, and third, plant and machinery. So if you are having three types of assets, we have to compulsorily create three account determinations. Okay, one account determination for every asset. Click new entries. So let's say I'll give a name to this as HABU. I'll call it as buildings for HAST. Second, I'll call it as BACW. That's capital work in progress for HAST. Third, HAPM. That's plant and machinery for HAST. Okay, all three. Save it. Press enter. Come back. Second, we go with screen layout rules. Okay. So screen layout rules, we cannot go ahead with new entries because the system doesn't give you that option of new entries. We have to copy from the existing screen layout only. Okay. And we can copy from any. It's not necessary that if you are creating buildings, you have to copy only from buildings. So anything can be copied from any existing screen layout. Okay. So click copy as. So I'll go ahead with the same identifications. I'll say HABU. This is buildings for, let's say HAST. Second, I'll say HACW. Capital work in progress for HAST. Third is HAPM. Plant and machinery for HAST. Oh, sorry.
What do you mean by capital work in progress? I mean, capital work in progress.
I'll tell you.
Okay, that will be.
Uh, let me just finish this, I'll tell you. Okay, just press enter, save it. Okay, now when do we use this capital work in progresses? Let's say you have an existing building, okay, ground floor. You're constructing the first floor, okay. Now whatever expenditure you are incurring for the first floor, that will be put under this capital work in progress, because it's a major asset which you're constructing, and all the expenditure you will put it in the capital work in progress. When the whole construction is over, what you do is you link that to the, you capitalize it and link it to the existing asset. Okay.
You create a, for example, you create an asset called building and you transfer all that value into the asset itself, is it?
Exactly. Okay. So for that purpose we use that. And secondly, second purpose where we use this capital work in progress is, let's say you have purchased a plant and machinery, okay, and normally when you go ahead with the calculation of depreciation, apart from the cost, what are all the additional expenses you're going to incur, like bringing the asset to the, or installation cost. So what we do is, again, all these additional expenditure we'll put it under capital work in progress. Once the whole installation is over, that we add it to the existing asset, and together with the cost of asset and this additional installation charges and all, the system will calculate the depreciation. Okay. Okay, let's come back. Third, we'll go ahead with number ranges. So these are used for assigning it to the individual assets. So I go to, so I can use any number here, starting from 1, I can go to, I'll say something like 100. That means I can create 100 assets under whichever is the account group to which I'm going to link this. Okay. Press enter, click insert interval, go with 0 to, I'll say 1012 up to 200.
Asset class.
No,
Asset class or group?
what we are doing now is these individual assets. Now the numbers which we are going to create will be assigned to this individual asset, whatever we are going to create under the asset master. Okay. Okay.
You already created 3 asset classes, right?
No, asset class we didn't create. We created the account determination. We created the screen layout. Now we are creating the number ranges.
Okay.
Now
Okay.
all these 3 will be linking it to the asset class. Okay. So I'll create the third number range also. Go to insert 03. We'll go to 201 to 300. Press enter and save it. Press enter again. Okay, let's get back. Now all these 3, account determination, screen layout and number ranges, we will link it to the asset class. Okay.
I'm sorry, in the account determination,
right?
So just going back there, did we mention any GL accounts there? No, not yet.
Not yet. Only as of now we are only creating the individual items. So linking of GL accounts, once we create the GL accounts, then we go for that. So as of now, only these 3 items. We didn't link any GL accounts still. Okay. Okay. So let's go to asset classes. I go to new entries. So the asset class identification also, I'll use it as same HABU. I'll say buildings for HAST, and here also I'll say buildings. So the account determination which we have created in the previous activities, that will link it here. So here we have HABU buildings. Screen layout also we gave the same identification. Number range, let's say I'll assign the first one 01, and here I'll select this include asset. Now include asset, why we need it is, now sometimes let's say I have used this asset for 5 years, Then after 5 years, I would like to check what is the actual value of this asset. Okay, and I want to update that in my accounting books. In that case, this will enable me to do that. Okay. Status of AUC is status of asset under construction. So asset under construction will come into picture only in case of capital work in progress, because this is an asset which is already existing. Only when we are constructing, in case of capital work in progress, we'll go with AUC. So as of now, no AUC, no asset under construction. Okay, save it. Click next entry button. I'll say HACW. This is my capital work in progress for HAST. So I'm using the short form here, CWIP. The account determination, I'll say HACW. Screen layout, and the number range, I'll say 02. Now this is a capital work in progress. In case of capital work in progress, we don't need this, because this is required only in case of assets which are used by the company. So capital work in progress where the work is still going on. So it has not come still into the usage. That's why we don't select this. Under status of AUC, we'll compulsorily select the line item settlement. That means whatever expenditure we are incurring for the asset under construction or the capital work in progress, that we want to settle it as line items. That's why we'll select that line item settlement.
What about investment measure? Investment measure we cannot, I mean
investment measure is exclusively when you are purchasing the asset only for investment purpose. That means we are not using the asset for our day-to-day activities. Then we can use that. Something like land and building you might have purchased, then we can go ahead with investment measure. Where
that's not part of your.
we don't calculate the depreciation on the investment measures, because depreciation comes into picture only when we use it for day-to-day purpose. Okay. So go to next entry, HAPM. This will be plant and machinery for HAST. This once again I'll say plant and machinery, HAPM. Here also HAPM. The number range will go with 03 and select this. Same, include asset. Okay, save it. Okay, let me just get back. So as of now, what we have done is these four things: account determination, screen layout, number ranges, and all these things we have linked it to the asset class. Okay. So immediately we cannot go to the creation of asset master. Again, there are some basic settings which we have to do. Let me come back here. Next thing what we have to do is, so I go to master data, I go to screen layout, I go to define screen layout for asset master data. Now in the previous step, we have only created the screen layout, but nowhere we have specified which field is required, which field is optional, and which field should be suppressed, right? Now we'll go into that screen layout, the one which we have created, and then we'll specify which are the fields which are required, optional and suppressed. Okay. I'll come here. Double click on define screen layout for asset master data. Now in this list, our screen layout is, these are the three which are required for our purpose. So I have to do all the three separately. So I'll select first HAPU and double click on logical field groups folder. Now what are these logical field groups? When we go for the creation of asset master, this many number of screens, multiple tabs will be there. Okay. So we don't need all of them. So we'll be going into only those areas which will have the accounting impact. Like we have something like insurance. this is where we are going to specify which is the insurance company from where we have taken the insurance and all. Okay, okay. So we need first the posting information. So we'll select 2 and double click on field group rules. And here we'll make only one thing. We'll make the capitalization date as required entry and select these 3 checkboxes. Capitalization date is from which date we started using the asset. That's why, because from that date we need to calculate the depreciation. That we are making it as required entry, and we'll select main number. Main number means the main asset. Sub number is linked with the main asset if there is any sub asset. So the reason why we have to select this is the depreciation has to be calculated separately on both of them, the main number as well as sub number. And whenever
this is the question I had. Yeah.
Yeah.
So depreciation can be actually done at the sub level, affecting the depreciation at the total level as well.
Exactly.
Take away that tick mark. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And copy is basically when you are using the reference, everything gets copied so that we need
The
not.
reason, Venkat, why I was saying that is because when you purchase, for example, let's say one of my server hard drive is gone, right?
Right.
So I've replaced the hard drive and I added a new hard drive to it. Now, obviously, that value
Right.
has to be removed.
Exactly. And there has to be a depreciation on this.
Yeah.
Right. So this gives,
to calculate.
so this gives us that option, main asset as well as a sub asset. Okay.
Yeah. So if I take away the second tick mark, it will automatically the sub number. I have given a sub number to the hard drive.
Right.
And the value is, let's say, 100, and the server value is 2000. So now it will depreciate the 200 away from the 2000. Let's assume.
Exactly. Right.
Because that's a replacement cost now.
Exactly. Right.
Is it?
That's it. Okay. But only thing is,
and what is the copy last tick mark? Copy is what for?
Copy is for when you're creating something with reference. Like
okay.
Then we can copy that also. I mean, not compulsory, but generally we just we'll be creating a lot of things with reference. That's why we keep that. Okay. Okay. So here I made the capitalization date. I'll come back to logical field groups. I come to time dependent data 3. Come back to field group rules. Now here what we do is cost center. As of now, since we didn't activate anything on the controlling side, I'll make the cost center as optional entry for the main asset as well as for the sub asset. But since we have created the branch office, we can make the business area as required entry, just to know to which branch office is this asset belonging. Okay.
So we created a business area?
So at the beginning we have created enterprise structure. You remember?
Yeah, we did?
Yeah, we created London business area and Manchester business area. We created 2.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. Let's save it. Now these required and optional what we have.
When we were doing the purchasing transactions or when we were doing the payments or something like that, their business area was coming there.
It was visible there. We made it as optional there. If you remember, we status we made it as optional. Okay. So this is basically for buildings. Let's go back to screen layout, and we'll repeat the same thing for capital work in progress and plant and machinery.
The remaining fields you didn't delete? I mean, you said you could...
Optional. Okay, we kept it as optional. Okay. Compulsory entries we have made it. Rest all things we kept it as optional. Okay.
Yeah, the field groups. Okay.
I mean, whatever is majorly required, that we are making it as required. Okay. Posting information. Again, I'll make the capitalization date. See here, acquisition date. Then we have deactivation, planned deactivation, purchase order date. All these things we made it as optional. Okay. I come back. Go with 3.
You cannot suppress a field, huh?
We can suppress it. I mean, maybe sometimes in future if that is required, your optional will always help you. If you suppress it again, it becomes a little difficult to again. In some cases, changing it system doesn't accept in case of GL transactions. That's why we keep it as optional mode. Okay, just save it. In the same way, we'll go with the third one also. We'll go with plant and machinery. 2, capitalization date. It'll come back. 3, field group rules. Cost center again I'm making as optional, and business area I'm making it as required. Okay, and save it. Okay, let's get back. Now this is basically the screen layout for asset master data. Okay, there is a screen layout for asset depreciation area also. Asset depreciation area is the book depreciation, the costing depreciation, what we were talking about. Okay. So let's come here. Now different screen layouts are already there. What we'll be using is this one. Now why we are using this one? Because the name itself is indicating depreciation on asset subnumber level. This will enable us to specify the field statuses required for the calculation of depreciation on the main asset as well as on the sub asset. Okay. So we'll select this and we'll go to field status groups. And here, this is the most important, depreciation key. Okay, we'll make the depreciation key as required entry and select all these 3 checkboxes. Main number, sub number. Now the depreciation key purpose is, if you remember this, here we are going to link the depreciation key to the asset master. So in the depreciation key at a later stage, we'll be specifying the method and the rate of depreciation. Which method are we using? Is a straight line method, return on value method, and what is the rate? These things will be specifying in the depreciation key, and that will be linking to the asset master. That is at a later stage. Okay. So here only one major requirement, that is make the depreciation key as required, and we will save it. Okay. Now this screen layout 2000, which we have just activated, we have to link it to the asset class. Let me come back here. What we are doing is that 2000, we are linking it to the asset class now here. Okay. Okay, let me just get back. I go to valuation, determine depreciation areas in the asset class. So 3 asset classes we have: HABU, HACW, HAPM. So first we'll go with HABU. Double click on depreciation areas. Now both these depreciation areas, they are in the deactive status. Okay. So for our day-to-day activities, we need the book depreciation. Okay. Consolidation is at the end of the year, and that too there is no accounting activity in that. Okay. So that's why we activate the book depreciation, and that screen layout 2000. We are linking it here. The second one also you can link it. Again, when you come back here, you need not repeat this activity. So we will save it. The same thing we repeat for the remaining 2 also. $2,000 for the second one also. By chance, were you into accounting at any point of time?
Sorry?
Were you into accounting at any point of time in your career? Doing any kind of accounting activities?
Myself?
Yeah.
No, not exactly. I mean, I've been involved with a lot of accountants, working with them, but not doing the day-to-day.
Oh, the reason why I was asking you was the way you were taking this asset accounting actually. It was looking as if you were very comfortable with accounting, because I've seen a lot of people who are really good in accounting also, they find it difficult to understand this linking process. what we are doing actually.
No, it's very straightforward actually. No, I've done a lot of, because I've done implementation for plant maintenance, production planning, and sales
Okay,
and distribution.
okay, right.
I have done a lot of configurations in all this area and materials management, material determinations, techniques. Worked
Right,
with many consultant, Tata Consulting Services, Intelligence.
right,
So I have got a lot of experience in these areas. I've done long time ago a lot of these exercises, and
right.
especially for major steel plants. I've done a lot of work with accountants for major steel plants, and
Mm.
it was mess, you know. So getting all the asset masters corrected for them and things like that. Asset classes, depreciation. I have
Right.
a lot of experimental knowledge, but you know, best practice. You know, when you, for example, when I'm working with you, so understand a little bit of best practice as well. You know, this is the right way. You know, what is the wrong way.
That's it. That's it.
So, but yeah, I've done a lot of that already.
Because
But
what I have seen is people who work in accounting for 10 to 15 years also, when they come and they try to understand asset accounting, I find it difficult to put it in a very basic terms. I have to go back to the basics. I have to tell them how the process goes in accounting. Then that accounting I link it to SAP, and I have to explain what is the reason why we do this. But in your case, it was not there actually.
I think I've explained this process also to the accountants as well, and the reason why is that they go back to the chart of accounts. Okay, so the chart of accounts, there they need to understand. So I mean, in our case, our end, the accountant's main question comes into perspective when we do the last activity, when we create the GL accounts for that.
Right.
So from there they understand, oh, this is where the linking is coming from. So they want to go directly to the chart of accounts and see, okay, where is the, how the entry is going to be done there.
Yeah. That leads to a lot of
Maybe,
confusion exactly for them.
yeah, that leads to for a lot of confusion for them, because they are still waiting for the main,
Exactly.
maybe the main pie to come.
Anyway, that's what
That will come later on, yeah.
even these people basically they think only from the accounting point of view, and they don't try to understand the linking
Yeah, the
process.
logic, yeah, the sub ledger, yeah, the sub ledger linking is sometimes very difficult for people to understand,
Exactly.
and especially in asset accounting, yeah. Mm.
Okay, so let's go with the third part, HAPM. Come to depreciation areas. Again, we'll just 2000, 2007. The asset accounting is one of the most toughest part in overall as a FI part. Okay,
Mm.
next thing what we do is we'll just go to this amount specifications, and here we'll go with specify rounding off. That means we are not rounding it off because it's already predefined as far as rounding off is there, but we'll specify that the depreciation calculation which we are doing, we'll be doing it automatically, because we'll be running a process. The system is going to calculate the depreciation automatically. That will specify here. It gives you a message. Press enter 2 times. Let's go to our company code, JST. Select this and double click on rounding specifications. So we'll go to book depreciation and select this automatically calculated depreciation. Okay, save it. Let's come back.
Mm.
So I'll do one thing. I'll stop it here for today. Next thing what we
Yeah,
have to do
okay,
is we have to create some
yeah.
GL accounts